It's the open V that Ed was talking about, with EK, Eliud Kipchoge, at the heart of it, and two wingmen, if you like, behind, all guaranteed to take the wind resistance out of Eliud's performance. 5 team captains. The first of them, Bernard Lagat. He's 44 years old. He's the oldest of the pacemakers in action today. The youngest is just 19 years old. And this first group will take them through to the first 3 kilometers. The current weather, well, almost perfect. A little bit more humid at 90% than was expected and was wanted, but Eliud Kipchoge, I'm sure, will be able to cope with that. So we're into the final few minutes before countdown. What on earth is going through the mind of Eliud Kipchoge? How quickly, how fast is his heart beating?
5.
We have liftoff. Apollo Kipchoge is up and away, and the challenge, very easy to say, to run 26.2 miles, 42.2 kilometers in under 2 hours. Very easy to say, rather more difficult to achieve, and they're on their way on the Reichsbrücke, traveling over the Danube, and they will be heading into the Pater very, very shortly indeed. Shalane and Ed have joined me in the commentary box, and Shalane, former winner, of course, of the New York Marathon just, 2 years ago. In these early kilometers, what's most important for Eliud?
Right now, Eliud is just completely relaxed. He is just in a state of flow. He's just locking in to the pace. Really, no mental energy is going to be wasted right now. It's almost kind of trying to fall asleep a little bit. He's just looking at the back of his pacers, looking at the back of specifically Bernard Lagat right there. They've been practicing all week these formations. He's very familiar with these guys. He's very comfortable. So he's just finding his rhythm, settling into pace, turning off the brain, saving all that mental energy for when it really starts to get tough and hurt, which is inevitable in the marathon.
So into the second minutes of this extraordinary challenge here, and of course the crowd is really building already. We're expecting 20 to 25,000 people lining the route. It's absolutely perfect. It's tailor-made for spectating here. The Pater, the green lung, if you like, of Vienna, the largest park in the capital city of Austria, is going to be packed here. It's perfect. There's not a breath of wind. We're looking at beautiful autumnal colours, and they make their way. Ed has joined us also in the commentary box. We're going to talk about the pacing in great detail throughout the next 2 hours, Ed, but just give us a sense of how revolutionary this open V form.
Well, it just looks like it shouldn't work. They're running with this wide front, and it's a reverse V, and you think, well, how can that work? But everyone tells me that it reduces drag on Eliud, and they've done all the testing that they need to do to ensure that it's actually the optimal formation.
2 men behind, of course, as we've said, and we'll introduce you to the new teams as they come and go. The drop-in, drop-out function or system is going to be absolutely key, so we'll be making sure that we talk you through that. But essentially, in terms of formation, it's 2 at the front, 2 behind them, then the captain, and in this case it's Bernard Lagat, the multiple world and Olympic champion. There he is, centre picture, with all that experience at 44 years old. Eliud, of course, in the white, right at the heart of it, and then the 2 wingmen behind. And the way they come in and out will be absolutely key. Shalane, the magic figure of 250-something has been achieved. It means they're through the first kilometre.
Yeah, I mean, they look relaxed like they should, right? They look amazing.
Absolutely fantastic. Now, here we go. Look, the first kilometre completed, 41.2 to go. The speed at which they are travelling is quite extraordinary. We saw before the race started, the challenge started, the treadmill with various people trying to have a go. And I have to say, Ed, I'm sure you're the same. I've actually been on a treadmill at sub-2-hour marathon speed. I mastered about 40 seconds. They had a couple of people standing behind me at the back to make sure I didn't fall off. It's going that quick. Shalane, let's talk about all the ingredients that need to go into producing this phenomenal feat. A lot of people, including Haile Gebrselassie, have likened it to a recipe, if you like, for making the perfect cake. And I know you've written a couple of cookery books yourself. So let's just talk over the next couple of hours about the various ingredients we need to make sure that this perfect cake, this sub-2-hour marathon, is achieved. And I guess the first thing we need to talk about is the main ingredient, a world-class athlete in tip-top condition. So, as an athlete, what makes Eliud so special?
Well, I look at Eliud, and his career started as a track athlete. He has this background and pedigree of being a phenomenal track racer. I believe he's run about 12:48, I believe, in the 5K. He has won 11 of his 12 marathons. He's run London 4 times, Berlin 3 times. He's won the 2016 Rio Olympics. He has every accolade there is to his name, and this is really the last barrier for him. But all of that training over his career is setting up the stage for today. All of that training is accumulated into hopefully a phenomenal performance.
And Ed, you were in Monza like Shalane. What are the improvement points, do you think, essentially, when it boils down to it? That was a terrifically successful experiment. It needs to be bettered here in Vienna today. What are the key things that need to be improved, do you think?
I think the course is slightly better. It's straighter. And turns are one of the things that hurt you in terms of time. I think that this pace formation could make a big difference. They're also wearing the most advanced shoes, so that's a difference. The intake of carbs, which he gets through a drink or a gel that's taped onto the bottle, that's been slightly refined. So the important thing is that he's not going to hopefully run out of fuel. So all these tiny little tweaks are helping him along.
I believe he's consuming the Moreton gels and fluids every 5K, and I believe it's like about 250 milliliters is what he'll be consuming.
Right, we'll see that. And we've just out of picture, we've actually got Valentin Treuil, who's the performance manager. He's the athlete manager. He will be on the bicycle, who will be handing the drinks to Eliud and the gels, and we'll talk you through that when it happens. We're looking for, what, about 7:50 or so, aren't we, for the first 3 kilometers when the pacemaker teams will change. Just a quick word about Eliud Kipchoge, the man. We've heard how humble he is, how disciplined, how down-to-earth he is. You've spent some time out there. What is he like as a person?
Well, he is humble. He also has to have a certain amount of self-belief and arrogance, if you like. When he gets into races, he knows he's going to do it. You don't win 11 out of your 12 marathons by not having belief in yourself. So he has a great and humble attitude to life in general. He gets on pretty well with his teammates. He mucks in with chores. He's a much-loved person in his training camp and around Kenya. But, when he's out there today, he's the boss, which is what he also gets called in camp. So, he's just switched into boss mode right now.
He is a phenomenal person as well as a phenomenal athlete, and there he is, just bunched in behind the pacemakers. The absolute trust between all 8 people at any one time cannot be overstated. Bernard Ragat there, right at the heart of it, the initial captain, and he will be handing over shortly to the second team, and Eric Kiptenui will be the second captain. And there are 9 stages altogether. The formation, barring any unforeseen circumstances, the formation will remain the same throughout each of the teams. And the one constant throughout of all this, of course, is Eliud himself. Eliud Kipchoge there in the white at the heart of things. Back to Eliud the person. I mean, you mentioned the fact that he's a man of the people. He takes his turn, doesn't he, at chopping vegetables and cleaning the toilets. He doesn't live at home when they're on camp. He just lives a few kilometers away, but he insists on being part of the group all the time.
Yeah, and I think that's the key thing for him is just to keep doing the same things that have led him to this point. So he's not had his head turned by making a lot of money. His family live in quite comfortable circumstances, and he doesn't most of the time. So there are a lot of different athletes that might have dealt with that a different way. But his way is just to keep on doing the same simple things that have got him to this point.
You mentioned his family. Shalane, we've got his wife and 3 children here today. It's a first, his wife Grace, and they're all watching him live in a marathon, in this case a challenge, for the first time.
Yeah, Grace is, well, he calls affectionately his family his ignition key, which is a beautiful term. Yeah, his wife, Grace, he said is his main supporter. She takes care of the family farm and the 3 children, Lynn, Griffin, and Jordan. He finds that his family is his inspiration and plays a huge role in what he's able to do. And I believe this is the first time his family has traveled to come to one of his races. So I think he wants to make sure that they're part of something historical today. And so I'm sure they're extremely nervous. As a family member watching my family compete, it's always easier to be the athlete than actually being the supporting role.
Well, 3 kilometers approaching, so we're expecting a change, Ed, very shortly of the team.
Yeah, and I, for one, this formation, it looks strange and it's wonderful. You know, you see Jack Rayner there with a fabulous sort of 1970s style moustache spread across his face, giving this sort of nostalgic feel. This is what the organisers are calling a kind of a K shape.
Or a Y shape.
Or a Y shape, I guess. You know, we have these 2 tail gunners here, and and all of it is to do with creating a little pocket of air around Eliud.
You'll see on the left of screen there that there's the green laser. This is the laser pacer, and we are actually at the finish line, of course, waiting in less than 2 hours for the crescendo, the climax of this race, and the Pacers and Eliud are just about to go in front of us for the first time, and I can tell you the atmosphere out on the course is absolutely electric. There is Valentin Troy on the bicycle, just tracking them, keeping a safe, respectful distance, and we're keeping an eye out here for the first changeover. They're going to go past the finish line, what will be the finish line later on in the challenge, and there is the laser pacer, if you like. That is the pace that will bring him home inside 2 hours. And Ed, we're approaching the time for the phase changeover, and as I think Shalane was likening, here we go. Shalane, talk us through this.
Yeah, I was likening it to in the U.S. A NASCAR pit stop where we change out tires, fine-tune the machine. Same thing goes here for Eliud. He's switching out and getting fresh runners that are hopefully smoothly transitioning into formation so that Eliud can just draft and conserve as much energy as possible.
Well, you can see there Bernard Lagat just giving a little hand clap, and he just peels away. And Ed, as a first transition, and here's the new team taking over, Team 2, with Eliud Kipchoge now taking the Lagat role as the captain, just ahead of Eliud himself. Ed, for you, how smooth was that?
That was pretty smooth. And did you see that Bernard Lagat hung around there? So everyone else in the team dropped out. Bernard Lagat stayed in front of Eliud to give him the protection while the other team swapped in, and then he swapped out last.
Shalane, just talk us through 1 or 2 of the highlights of this second team here. Paul Cherimo in the group.
So Eliud Kipchoge, though, he is taking brunt of the work today. He's going to be doing the 2nd, 6th, and 8th transitions. He's a half marathon specialist who is the 6th fastest man ever over the half marathon distance. He's run a gaudy 58:42 time that he clocked to win the 2018 Berlin